There is something you have never questioned, something that has controlled your every action, every relationship, every silent resentment you swallow, something that has turned you into the kind of person who gives and gives and gives and still feels empty. Being a good person is not what you think it is. It is not kindness. It is not generosity. It is a prison. You have spent your life believing that being good will earn you love, that if you always do the right thing, if you never disappoint, if you never ask for too much, then one day someone will finally see you, appreciate you, choose you. But they never do they? Instead, you are overlooked, expected to give more, expected to never ask for anything in return. And the worst part, you let them, because deep down you have been conditioned to believe that your worth is tied to what you can offer, that if you are not useful, you are nothing. But what if I told you that the very thing you believe will make people love you is the same thing that is making them take you for granted? That being a nice guy is not a virtue, it is a survival strategy. But now that you see it, what will you do? Will you keep playing the role, the one that makes everyone comfortable, the one that never asks for too much, the one that always bends so others don't have to? Or will you face the truth? Because here's the thing. This isn't just about being nice. This isn't about being polite or considerate or respectful. This is about control. Yes, control. You've spent your entire life believing that if you could just be good enough, if you could anticipate everyone's needs, if you could always be agreeable, then maybe, just maybe, you could control how people see you, how they treat you, how much they love you. But has it worked? Or have you found yourself in the same pattern over and over again? The friend who listens but is never truly heard, the partner who gives but is never truly valued, the one who is always there for everyone but feels completely alone. And here's the part no one ever tells you. This isn't an accident. This isn't bad luck. This isn't about them. It's about you. Because you have been programmed to believe that your worth is conditional, that love is something you have to earn, that if you are not needed, you are not wanted. And so you've built your entire life around making sure people need you. You bend, you sacrifice, you make yourself small, not because you want to, but because deep down you are terrified of what will happen if you don't. So let me ask you again, now that you see it, what will you do? Will you keep waiting, hoping, slowly disappearing? Or will you break the pattern? But before you answer, there's something you need to understand, and this is where things get uncomfortable. Because breaking free isn't just about saying no. It isn't about setting boundaries or speaking up or deciding that from now on you'll put yourself first. It's about something much deeper, something that will shake the very foundation of who you think you are. Because the truth is, you don't actually know who you are. Not really. You know the version of yourself that keeps the peace, the version that smiles when it's expected, the version that says, it's fine, even when it's not. But who are you when there's no one left to impress, when there's no role to play, no expectations to meet, when there's no one watching? Do you even know? Or have you spent so long shaping yourself around what others need that you've forgotten what you need? Think about it. How many of your choices were truly yours? The way you dress, the way you talk, the way you hold yourself in a room. Did you choose them? Or did you adapt piece by piece until the real you was buried under layers of approval, validation, and quiet desperation? And here's where it gets worse. Because the more you hide, the more invisible you become. The more you shrink yourself, the more the world stops seeing you. And the more you try to be good, the less anyone seems to care. And that feeling, that deep, gnawing emptiness, it's not just loneliness, it's not just exhaustion, it's grief. Grief for the person you could have been, the person you were before the world convinced you that you weren't enough. And here's the terrifying part. If you don't wake up now, if you don't break out, you may never meet that person. You will go through life as a shadow, blending in, pleasing, adjusting, surviving, until one day You look in the mirror and realize there's nothing left. So let me ask you again, who are you without the mask? But before you answer, there's something you need to understand, something that will change everything, because the real reason you can't stop this cycle, the real reason you keep giving, keep bending, keep losing yourself, has nothing to do with kindness. It has nothing to do with being a good person, and everything to do with something much, much darker. Something that's been controlling you for years, something that whispers in the back of your mind, shaping your choices before you even realize it. Because this isn't just about being good, this isn't just about people-pleasing, this is about fear. The kind of fear that doesn't scream, it suffocates. The kind that doesn't chase you, it owns you. Think about it. Why do you hesitate before speaking your mind? Why do you hold back your opinions, soften your words and nod along even when you disagree? Why do you feel guilty for wanting more? Because deep down, you've been trained to believe that if you take up too much space, if you demand too much, if you become too much, you will be left alone. And that is the deepest, most primal fear of all. You don't chase approval just because you want people to like you. You chase it because, on some level, you believe your survival depends on it. Because once upon a time, maybe when you were a child, maybe in a moment you barely remember, you learned that love had conditions, that affection had a price, that being accepted meant being less of yourself, so you adapted. You became the easy one, the agreeable one, the one who never made things difficult, never asked for too much, never rocked the boat. And now, even as an adult, that same fear controls you. It's why you stay quiet when you should speak up. It's why you apologize for things that aren't your fault. It's why you'd rather suffer in silence than risk making someone uncomfortable. Because the voice in your head, the one that tells you to be good, to be kind, to be small, isn't really yours. It's an echo of the past, a ghost of every time you were ignored, dismissed, or made to feel like who you are isn't enough. And if you don't confront it, if you don't rip it out at the root, you will spend your entire life trapped. Not because the world is holding you back, but because you are. But here's the real question. If this voice isn't really yours, then who would you be without it? Because once you understand that, once you see the truth, there's no going back. And that's where the real journey begins. Not the journey you thought you were on, not the one that was planned for you, not the path they told you was right or safe or good. No, this is something else entirely. Because once you see the truth, you can't unsee it. You can't go back to who you were before. You can't pretend you don't feel that shift deep in your chest. The unsettling realization that everything you built your life around might not be real. Because now the mask is slipping. You spent years wearing it, smiling when you wanted to scream, agreeing when you wanted to say no, biting your tongue, shrinking yourself, twisting into whatever shape made you the least threatening. And it worked. People liked you. They praised you. They called you kind, selfless, easy to be around. But tell me, did any of that make you happy? Or did it just make you useful? Because here's the brutal truth. You were never loved for who you are. You were loved for what you gave, for what you did. And the second you stop giving, the second you stop being what they expect, watch how quickly that love disappears. That's the part they don't tell you. That's the part that keeps you trapped. Because it's not just about disappointing others. It's about what happens after, when the invitations stop coming, when the messages slow down, when the people you spent years bending over backwards for suddenly act like you never mattered. And that silence, that emptiness, that is the moment most people break. That is the moment they come crawling back. They say, "I'm sorry." They say, "I didn't mean it." They say, "I'll go back to how I was before." And they do, because the fear of being alone is stronger than the pain of losing themselves. So they return to the role they were given. They put the mask back on, they shrink, they fold, they surrender. And life goes back to normal, until one day they wake up and realize they don't even recognize themselves anymore. But you have a choice. Because you see the game now, you see how the strings are pulled. You see how you were conditioned to believe that your worth comes from your usefulness, that being loved means being needed, that if you stop giving, you stop mattering. And here's where it gets dark. Because if none of that is true, if your worth was never tied to what you could offer, then who are you really? If you strip away the approval, the validation, the constant, desperate need to be good, what's left? Do you even know? Or have you spent so long being what the world wanted that you forgot how to be anything else? And if that's the case, then the real question isn't just, who are you? It's, who do you become when you stop being afraid? Because that is the version of you they never wanted to meet. The version of you that doesn't beg, that doesn't wait for permission, that doesn't waste another second apologizing for taking up space. And once that version of you wakes up, there is no going back. Not now. Not after everything you've seen. Not after realizing that the life you were living wasn't really yours. It was borrowed, built from expectations that were never meant to serve you. Because here's the thing no one tells you. Most people never escape. They feel the discomfort. They sense that something is wrong. They glimpse the truth in those quiet moments when they're alone, staring at the ceiling, scrolling mindlessly, drowning in a restlessness they can't explain. But they ignore it. They distract themselves. They convince themselves it's just life. They tell themselves that everyone feels this way, and so they stay. Stuck, trapped, chained to routines that drain them, suffocating in relationships that no longer make sense, waking up every morning with that same gnawing emptiness. Like something inside them is screaming, but they don't know how to listen. Do you know why they stay? Because it's easier. It's easier to play along. It's easier to keep wearing the mask. It's easier to be the version of yourself that keeps the peace, that doesn't ask for too much, that doesn't challenge the way things are. But that version of you, it's dying, slowly, silently, with every compromise you make, with every time you say yes when you mean no, with every moment you ignore the pull in your gut that whispers, "This is not who I am." And that's why you're here, isn't it? Because some part of you knows that something needs to change, knows that you can't keep living like this, knows that the version of you who wants more, who deserves more, is still in there, buried beneath the expectations, the fear, the guilt. But here's the truth. No one is coming to save you. No one is going to reach into your life and pull you out of this cycle. No one is going to hand you permission to be the person you were always meant to be. You either take it, or you spend the rest of your life waiting for the right time, waiting for someone to understand you, waiting for a sign, a push, a moment where everything suddenly makes sense. But that moment? It's already here. It's this. This is the sign you've been waiting for. This is the push you thought you needed. This is the moment where you decide, right here, right now, that you will not go back. Because the truth is, the person you were before, the one who lived for approval, who stayed small, who let the world define them, that person is already gone. And the only question left is, who are you ready to become? Because this is just the beginning. If you're ready to break free, to step into the life you were meant to live, then stay. Because we're going deeper. Because we're tearing down every illusion that's kept you caged. Because from this moment on, you will never see yourself the same way again. So tell me, are you ready? Drop a yes in the comments if you're done playing small. Drop a yes if you're ready to rewrite your story. Drop a yes if you're done living life on autopilot, because this journey, it starts now.